What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Tribe of Runners. I'm your host, Liz Myers, and today I have a very special guest that I met wildly enough out at Badwater 135, who we were just like, hey, someone wants to write a piece about Badwater. They talked to Kaylee, and if it's okay, he's going to hop in the car with you, which is exactly what he did. And he had to deal with three people, well, actually four people he had never met before, and deal with all of our crazy quirks and then write an amazing story, which is out, and I will have that link in the show. But welcome, Devin Kelly, to the podcast.
Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here. I'm
Heck
excited
yeah.
to chat running and everything.
Oh, yeah. So, since we're on the topic, obviously, it's a running podcast. Tell us how you got into running and when all of that started for you and that good stuff.
Sure. I have been running since I was a kid. Yeah, running was a sort of big deal in my family. My brother is still a really serious runner and a competitive one. And the two of us went to the same college. He's a year and a half older than me, and we ran competitively there at Fordham University. Um, and yeah, I sort of fell in love with it. I am really thankful to have like my closest friends are all from that moment in my life, and so many of them kept running, and so we never really stopped. We got into marathoning after college. A bunch of us have run a handful of Boston marathons, New York City marathons, and then one of my best friends, Matt Collins. He's a pretty crazy ultra runner. He's done Badwater 135. He got a loop in at the Barclays this year.
Very cool.
And he really introduced us to the ultra scene. And yeah, I ran my first ultra with him at Bear Mountain, the North Face Bear Mountain 50, which is no longer existent. I want to say it was 2017, I think, maybe 2016. And yeah, we've been running short, long, medium, everywhere in between ever since. So yeah, really lucky to have some good friends who are into it. But yeah, it's been a lifetime of it.
That's awesome. And so cool that you grew up in it and then have found the crazy ultra distance. Now, does your
Yeah.
brother do ultras too, or is he more of like the smaller distances?
No, he's done marathons. He's exorbitantly faster than I am. We were both, I mean, quick enough to run in college, but he was really competitive in college. I was not. I was I was happy to be there.
Mhm.
And but yeah, he really leaned into sort of like the road race scene. He's in Washington D.C. and I was run for a few track clubs there, and sort of progressed up to the marathon. But he's run some quick marathons, and I don't think he'll go much further than a
Yeah, so
marathon.
that was my next question. Are you
Yeah,
gonna ever get him out there to do ultras?
yeah, maybe like we'll start with a 50K
Yeah,
and see what happens. Um, but yeah. It's great friends and a good family for it, so I'm
for
happy
sure,
about it.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. And there's always like that one person in the family that's crazy that does the extra distances,
sure.
and then the other one that's like quote unquote normal. So I'm
Yeah,
glad you're part of the crazy group, but like I am. But super cool that that's how you got into, and it sounds like you already have an amazing amount of people around you that support and run with you, which is awesome. What are some of the races that you've done that like quick top of head that you really like, and why do you like them?
sure. I sort of bracket it to me into like the fun ones, and then the maybe the fast ones. I've done JFK 50 a couple times, and that was, sometimes you enter a race and you're like, I really want to do well, and I want to sort of test myself and push the limit, and that was JFK for me a couple times. Which I still haven't figured out. It's a weirdly tough race because you get a bit of the it's like a third on the Appalachian Trail, and then like a good chunk on just a straight and flat towpath that drives you nuts. And then some roads at the end. But I love that one. I love a race just like Badwater that sort of starts or has some sort of affiliation with like a high school gymnasium, like the
Mhm.
Badwater athlete briefing. But JFK starts in this like local high school, and it's 4 a.m. and it's pitch black, and I love that. Um, my all time favorite is this race I talk too much about called Farm Days. which is run by two people who have become very, very close friends of mine, Victor Fallon and Andrew Snopes. And it is a loop race, a timed loop race, 6, 12, 24 hours out in Brooklet, Georgia, near Savannah. And my buddies and I have been going like 7, 8 years.
Oh,
I missed a couple for um, I was getting married right around the same time, and so but that race is so fun. It's so low stakes. You can send it if you want. Um, you can just sort of do a couple loops and enjoy some really good food and live music. It's people camp out. We usually like rent an RV and get it towed right on the course. We live out of the RV for a weekend, and there's karaoke at 1 a.m, and it's like a real that that race has become like I think a big touchstone in our lives. And it's so interesting because it just started as sort of Matt texted all of us and said, "Hey, I heard about this race. Should we go?" And we went, and we never stopped going. And it never gets old. So yeah, those two. I mean, being out of Badwater was unbelievable. My buddy Matt Collins did it in 2018, I think, and hearing the stories about it um, were wild. But yeah, those two are top of mind for me. It's sort of one that's more in like the serious camp, and one that's like low stakes. Let's have fun.
oh yeah. And I feel like that's where a lot of people fall in line. Like you have that competitive edge where like you want to go after something, you want to be fast. And then you have
Yeah.
that one that's like such an amazing experience that you get to hold and have and stuff like that. So that's awesome and super, super cool. But you kind of mentioned it. So let's get into Badwater and
Sure.
how all of this even came about. When and how did you think of the piece and all that good stuff?
Yeah, yeah. Another Matt Miedendorp, who's the one of the publicity guys at Mount to Coast, reached out to me out of the blue, like back in February or something of this year, and said that they were the title sponsor of Badwater and they were doing some cool stuff. I mean, and they did. They rolled out that Badwater shoe, all kinds of wonderful things. And yeah, he said no strings attached. Like you don't have to write about our shoe, you don't have to write about our brand, but we're trying to get a bunch of writers out here. And he had read my work before, and he said if you can land a story somewhere, if you can pitch a story somewhere, we'll get you out here and get you all the access you need. Which was an awesome email to receive. And Yeah, and good timing because I'm a high school teacher, and that was basically my first full week of summer. And yeah, and I thought I was thankful that my buddy Matt had run the race many years ago, and that one of our best friends, Nick, crewed him, paced him. His parents crewed, and we just so many stories from that. And I had they came back absolutely different people. Um, but I really learned. I saw how I saw how intense Nick had to be, how to keep Matt sane, and so I thought that would be a really cool story to tell. Is to if I could get in with a crew somehow and tell the story of the crew and I mean the runner too, but like to really make the crew one of the central characters of a story about ultra running. I thought would be awesome. I think in our culture we I know like when we look at sort of ultra marathons and any sort of achievement, we focus very much on the individual and there's good reason for that. I mean, it's absolutely badass. To run 135 miles across Death Valley, but we often neglect when we focus on the individual, the people who got them there, and who helped them there. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I reached out to Mount to Coast and said, is there any athlete who would let me join their crew? And um, I got to sit down with Kaylee and chat with her, and she was super super open about it. And then I had just done a piece for Outside Magazine on David Roche, and
Mhm.
um, that had just published, and I reached out to my editor there and said, "Would you be down for another piece?" And they were like, "This is awesome." And so yeah, it all worked out. I was like, really and yeah, I met you guys the day before,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, which was yeah, I was just really I was grateful that everyone was so chill and so open, because it's a lot. Like it's as I mean, we were in a car together for 31 hours. Like
Mhm.
it's that's a really pressure cooker environment, even if you're calm and cool and collected. But yeah, that's sort of how it all started, and so it all worked out from the jump, and I was really really happy about it, to get that kind of access.
For sure. And an amazing offer for Mount to Coast to reach out and then for you
Yeah,
to be able to write and then go and publish an outside magazine, which was
yeah,
so funny. And I know we told you this, so it's like no surprise, but we met you the first night and then we were like talking. I was like, is it Outsider Magazine? Is it? And then
yeah, yeah,
everyone's like, no, it's Outdoors Magazine. I'm like, I have no clue. So that was like the common joke until we
yeah,
re-met you the night of the race. And you're like, oh no, it's Outside Magazine, which was hilarious. So like
yeah,
we all had a good time there. And this race is completely different. So a lot of people that don't know, Badwater 135, the crew and pacers are in a van for the entire race. There's really maybe two spots that you can stop in, like get some ice, get fill up, and all of that stuff. But you are confined with whoever's in that van the whole entire time. Not to
yeah,
mention running or your runner being out there, and then pacing and all that good stuff. So this year for all of us was different in an aspect of like I know last year Andy and Marissa were together and then they had someone else and he wasn't a runner, so it was only those two running. And this year all four of us were running, which was awesome. I think that helped everyone because like we
yeah,
all got a good chance to sleep or attempt to sleep and then
yeah,
eat. And we there were so many hands helping, so it was just a really really good environment. And it was just wild to have Kaylee have such a successful year, which is awesome and a good
yeah.
story. At least you didn't have some like crazy oh shit hit the fan. But it was awesome that you were really focusing on the crew too. So what are some of the things that you took away that you didn't expect to see or experience in that aspect?
Um, I think it was just when I was reflecting on it and sort of looking at all my notes, I was really struck, and I tried to get this in the piece, is just how uniquely individual each member of the crew was in a really wonderful way. You and Andy and Marissa, like I think everyone sort of had a really great filled a really great role.
Mm,
Um, you know, and I think and also like I was not expecting everyone to to be running, which
mm,
I think to your point was a really really great, like it kept I think everyone really fresh, and I think it kept like stress levels down, and but I like Marissa was such a calming presence. You had such like insider knowledge. Andy had a bit of a wizard like feel to him. And I think everyone like really complimented each other in that way. And I also really I appreciated, I remembered like a conversation early on where people were talking about, and I think I briefly mentioned it, like people were sort of talking about what how they get when they're really really stressed. And I think
mm,
we had that conversation maybe like an hour into the ride, and I was like, that's a really profoundly powerful conversation to have so early on. And it made me I was like, yeah, this will be I was never really that worried. I was my mindset was like, I'll be easygoing. I'll try and stay out of the way. I'll be as involved as they let me, and was grateful to be to be let to be so involved. And I was like, if tempers rise, I'll just be calm and you know. Uh, but when I heard that conversation, I was like, wow, what this is, uh, like the emotional sort of maturity here is really really great. And I had no worries about how the day would go. and the night and the next day.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, that was my biggest takeaway was just like that. It was a really wonderful blend of personalities, and it was like a quick 31 hours,
Mhm.
to be honest. And with a lot of great conversation, a lot of humor, a lot of laughter. Um, I think there were only a couple moments when I was like, okay, the car feels tense, like we're stressed or we're something. And yeah, and I think that's a testament to people's experience. It's a testament to their personalities, and so it was a big takeaway for me.
Oh yeah. And you're so right. There was a like I don't mean this in a bad way, but a wide variety of us in the personality aspect of Andrew was like I don't even know how to describe him, but hilarious.
Oh, he is.
Marissa's very motherly.
Hmm.
I always get told I'm very stern. So I'm stern and serious. And then you just kind of like literally sat back and watched all of us. Eventually your personality came out too, but you're very observant at first. And I think one thing, and I don't know if I was the one that said something or if it was someone else, but one thing I've really learned and taken away with crewing is like really knowing when things go bad, how people react. So that's all I'm always asking, like, hey, like, how
Yeah,
do you kind of react during these situations? Because if you get really, like quiet and like I get quiet and I just kind of keep to myself, and other people may get louder, or you can see the frustration in them. If you know that ahead
yeah,
of time, you can conquer, like, hey, what's going on? Something's happening right now. Rather than like things blowing up and then, a crew not being on their A game when the runner needs it, which is super, super important. So, like you mentioned, it was an awesome experience. I think just completely different because all of us were runners. We all had a little bit of insight in different aspects. Andy and Marissa have been there, multiple times before. I had been there
yeah,
once before too. And then you being the first year, I feel like we all did so well and learned so much, not in like, any other aspect of like just a solid crew this year. I don't think I've had a more efficient crew, to be 100% honest, out there, because all of us were dialed in. Like
yeah,
I only remember like one instant where like Kaylee was just not having a good time, and we're like, listen, we need to figure this shit out. But it was more or less like she was just worked up and in her feels, and that's completely normal for a runner to have. So it's like trying to
yeah,
calm her down.
yeah. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it seemed like there was never a moment when people weren't on the same page. And I think, yeah, and the level of detail was like, I mean, I still think about Marissa's, like a spreadsheeted sort
Mhm.
of binder thing. And it's just like, it is, uh, like you think about crewing. I think anyone who's not part of the sport thinks maybe, okay, well, like you keep a good attitude and you give them what they need, and but it's like you actually have to anticipate their needs, and like you don't really want Kaylee to be thinking that much about like asking someone who's run 80 miles, what do you want, is like that's a clusterfuck. Like you don't that's like trying to pick a restaurant when you're hungry. It's like
Mhm.
it all sounds good or it all sounds awful. And so you like the level of like we have this for her, we have this for her, we have this for her, we're all set. And it really felt like a well-oiled. I mean, you practice it by the end of the race. I mean, we probably had done 50 pit stops or something. You
Mhm.
know, it's got like something close to that, and it's just like that's 50 times of parking the car, filling up the bottle. Which one is it? Is it,
Mhm.
does she get a gel today? You know, like that kind of thing. That's like um by the time you're at number 40, you've done it 39 times, and like it's yeah. So I don't think people realize maybe how intricate and intimate a process it is.
Oh, for sure. And I think
Yeah.
how we did everything too, which was a big change for Kaylee, is like having her nutrition set and hydration set. So
Yeah.
like having a water one time, having a tailwind the next time, and then
Sure.
having because we're tired as well. So 30 stops in, we're all getting exhausted. We have to look at the notes that we took literally probably 5 minutes
Yeah.
ago to be like, did we give her water? Did we give her tailwind? So like having Marissa, and I know you and I also did it as well, but like having that spreadsheet in there was life changing. And I have done it a little before in races, but never to this detail. And for me, it
Yeah.
was a huge takeaway as well. Like, if someone wants to be super efficient, you need to have something like this. And we noted when she peed, when she pooped, like
Hmm.
the food she ate.
Yeah.
And then going into like the question thing, I remember vaguely out there, and everyone's like, we need to try to get her to eat some solid food. And it originally intended to be Uncrustables. They were not going. So we were
Yeah.
like, why don't we try these cold fries that we've had forever? And I remember a few times we were asking like, hey, do you want these fries? Hey, do you want these fries? And every time it was, no, that doesn't sound good. And I remember one time I was like, dude, just take these fries with you and see if you can eat them. She did, and she
Yeah.
ate them. And it was just like, she had them in her hand, I'm sure. She was running and was like, oh yeah, here's food. I should probably eat it.
Yeah.
Instead of like the offer of being like, would you like these? Because like you said, at mile 80, no one wants to do anything. They don't want to be asked anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really. Yeah, it's remarkable stuff.
Yeah, it really is. That's so cool. After the whole race was done, we finished. How fast did you want to go home and go to sleep is the real question.
Yeah, I I conked out pretty hard. Let's see. Yeah, I stayed in Lone Pine after with my now other Matt friend from Mountain Coast, and yeah, I think I probably slept until noon. We finished just before dawn, probably at
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
a.m. or so.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
um, yeah, I crashed pretty hard.
Yeah.
But then yeah, then I went to Jake's Saloon in Lone Pine, and I met some other crews there, and had a good afternoon.
That's awesome.
Then I slept very well the next night. So
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like after my first Badwater experience, I was beyond ready to go to bed. I was very ready to go to bed this time as well, but
yeah,
it's just a different type of exhausted state of mind. But as we'd mentioned, you have wrote a piece on the Outside magazine on this experience. I will have it in the show notes. But you're also a writer, so tell us a little
yeah,
about like what you do outside of running, and then we'll kind of get into some other things.
sure, sure. Yeah, well, by day I'm a high school teacher, and have been doing that for almost a decade, which is nuts. But yeah, I've been writing for longer, and I published a book of poems almost 10 years ago, and I have a novel coming out. My first novel is coming out in November of this year, and but a lot of my writing for the better part of the last 5, 6 years has been long form essays for a number of places, and like Outside Magazine, Long Reads, The Guardian, um, and yeah, and actually a lot of my writing has revolved. It was when I started writing about running that I sort of found found a lot to write about it, and sort of found a lane in terms of my writing, and it's opened up a lot of those doors for me, and so yeah, I mean that's like how um, I, I wrote a number of essays for online magazine called Long Reads, and some of those did well enough to sort of open some doors to some editors at some bigger places, and um, that's that's sort of the long story of how this came about and how I was able to get in touch with Outside Magazine for my piece before about David Roche. And but yeah, that's my life. So yeah, I mean, and it works out well. Like I do a lot of freelancing, and I do a lot of my freelancing in the summer, because teaching is very much a full-time job, and
Mhm.
it can be very exhausting, just like crewing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's sort of that's what I balance, and I've been able to sort of balance that for a bit now, and I'm happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's such a, like you mentioned, crewing is, or teaching is very much like crewing in the aspect of being exhausting. I can only imagine, and you have so many little ones, you do high school, correct?
Yes, I
So
teach
they're
high
not,
school seniors.
yeah, they're not little, but younger ones,
Yeah,
which I'm sure all of the, oh, I can only imagine. I have a 13-year-old, and oof, my hands are full with just
I
one.
bet.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's so cool, and I love that you kind of got into the running aspect of writing, and like now you're I hate to say this, but you're becoming even more obsessed with running because you do run, and then
Yeah.
now your writing is going into running, which is super cool. But tell us a little more about the piece that you did on David. I know we kind of talked about this in
Sure.
out crewing, but share that with
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. I reached out to him. Yeah, I had had an editor reach out to me and say if like basically do you have any ideas for a story? And like I've read your work, I'm familiar with your work. If you want to write for us, wonderful. But like pitch us some ideas, and which is a cool email to get. And then you're like like this better be good. Like whatever I think of, and it was just when David Roche threw down that gauntlet.
Mm.
It was a little bit after this time last year, and he had thrown down the sort of I'm gonna win Western States. And um and I think he was a known figure in the ultra community, but
Mhm.
like wasn't I mean very much a known figure, but like that was a big gauntlet to throw down.
Mhm.
That's like that's like saying I'm going to win the Super Bowl after basically playing one game of football or something. And so um but I reached out to him on Instagram, and I introduced myself, and I said, I'm a writer, and I'm looking for some stories to do, and would you be willing to let me, like, my ask was pretty intense. I was like, I'd like to cover you for the next few months. I'd like to cover every aspect of your training. And we eventually landed on like he was willing to meet me and spend some time with me, and so I pitched that to Outside, and they were down with it, and they flew me out to Boulder back in February, sort of at the height of his training. And it was awesome too, because it was just like Badwater. It was I get a week off in February, and so does my wife, who's also in education, and we took a little vacation to Boulder. And Oh yeah, we had a great time, and I had dinner with David and Megan and their family, and then the next day actually the next day my wife and I got trapped on top of a snow-covered mountain, and
Oh
so
no.
the next day I went for a run with David and sat down with him and spent some time with him. Um, yeah, and I got to sort of write a really wonderful story about him and sort of unpack his personality and his relationship to the sport. And it was a really funny story to write. Not funny, haha, funny, but it was one of those things that when I told people that I was writing it, um, when I told people I was writing it, like everyone had their opinion about him,
Mhm.
sort of, if that makes sense. And I, yeah, like it was hard to sort of like to calibrate the fact that I had to come up with my own opinion basically,
Mm. Mhm.
and that was tough. And so but I really enjoyed the process of getting to know who he was as an individual, and I found him to be like a wonderfully affable, generous, genuine person. His wife too. um and just super motivated, and he has a level of intensity that he's able that sort of exists alongside um the kindness and the joy. It's like he's also like a deeply intense person. I
Mhm.
mean, and it was really cool to meet someone who's able to do both of those things at once, that you don't have to be one thing. Like
Mhm.
you don't have to be like if you decide you want to be the best, you don't have to be an asshole.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And I think people don't know what to do with that, like when they judge him. And I think we have a deeply online culture right now, and I think a lot of people judge his personality from a couple social media posts or something. And so um, anyway, like I thought like it was an interesting thing because I was like I'm going to do a profile on this cool runner, and then the more I worked on it, the more I was like, oh, there's so much else happening here too. It's also about
Mhm.
our relationship to people online and things like that. But um, yeah, I loved meeting him. I'm still in touch with him, and I just sent him a message congratulating him on Leadville, which was
Mhm.
super cool. to see, especially after what happened to Western States. Which I mean, it's like that's its own form of ballsy too, is to throw down the gauntlet and then to DNF. Like
Mhm.
that's part of the sport. And
Yeah.
so to do it humbly, I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for that. And so, but I was really happy to see him break his own record at Leadville. And
Oh yeah. Yeah, like you
that's
mentioned, social media is wild right now, and I feel like there's so many opinions, like good, the bad, the ugly,
yeah,
it is an array on this gentleman too, which is
sure,
wild. But he had a great year last year. Western States did not go to plan,
yeah,
which happens. And then he literally just threw down again and crushed his own record at Leadville. So obviously he's doing something right and he's got a lot going for him. He had one race that didn't go well, but he's had so many races that went really well. And I'm
yeah,
excited to see like where he goes throughout this time. But super cool that before all of this, like you mentioned, he just literally threw out like I'm gonna win Western States, and then you got to write a piece on it, which was even cooler, and
yeah,
to really go in and experience him through your own point of view. Because like you said, there's so much talk about people, not only him but everyone, and so getting the firsthand experience of being in there and experiencing
yeah,
him and his wife and everything, which is really, really cool. And it's funny because I remember reading that article a while ago when it came out, and I hate to say this, I didn't pay attention to who wrote it. And then you were talking about, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've read this. And then in the car, I think we had all said, like, yeah, I know I've seen it. And then maybe that next day, like when we got done crewing, we read it, and I was like, yeah, I've definitely read this before. So it was super cool, just to like literally meet you after reading it, and for you to go out there and experience, because a lot of people have formulated crazy opinions about him, which is wild. But he, from what I'm told from everyone, he is super, super generous. He is so kind, and he is like how he portrays himself out online and all that good stuff.
yeah,
But super cool for you to experience that.
yeah. It was really wonderful.
That's awesome.
So.
So you've done all of this writing. What is something that you're looking to do in the future? If you can tell us about ultra running and writing outside of your novel, because I know your novel's coming out soon.
Um, yeah, I mean, I mean, I'd like to keep writing about the sport, and I'd like to keep doing it in ways that feel uh, fresh and unique. I think a lot of my a lot of my writing is sort of concerned with there's sort of like this maybe simplistic, maybe is too harsh a word, but there's like the ways in which we like I was talking about earlier with ultra running. It's like when we look at sport, we often, I think, sometimes take the easy way of we look at ultra marathons and we look at just individual people and we're like, wow, these individual people breaking limits and doing this thing and this thing and this thing. And though that's true to an extent, I think the sport is more interesting to me to explore other things. Like I think whether it's crewing and the fact that like almost every single individual achievement in ultramarathoning is owes a debt to a number of people, and that's true. And I think um, the other side of it is also to me, ultramarathons, we talk a lot about breaking limits and things like that, but I think in my experience of running ultramarathons, they have taught me more about my own limits. Like you
Mhm.
have to be really aware of what you need. Like you can't like just run 100 miles and not fuel yourself and not eat and not understand that if you there are things that if you don't do them, your body will break down,
Mhm.
or your body won't respond well. And so I think these aspects of ultra marathoning are really interesting to me, because it's almost like sometimes we celebrate. To me, sometimes we focus on or celebrate like the wrong things. I think there are more interesting and powerful things to talk about in the sport, about what it teaches us about being aware of our bodies and being aware of each other. And I think it's a really great sport to talk about those things because one, it's where I've learned so many of those things for myself, and two, I think that the culture is so inviting. Like I think it's like with any niche, almost outsider thing, it's just like when you're around 100 people who are committed to doing this somewhat insane thing, and you say, "Hey, I want to do that too." Almost all the time, people are going to be like, "Welcome."
Hmm. Hmm.
um, excited to have you here. And so those are all things that I don't know what the next story will be, but I don't doubt that I'll be able to find one in this sport because it's provided me with so many wonderful experiences already.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And the way you're talking, like all I can sit here and think about is like it's the community. It's
Yeah.
like you mentioned, we are very niche, and like there's an insane thing with us as people that we do these crazy things. But like you said, we have all been to a start line, looked over, and literally known what they have put in and or what they have done to get to that start line. And then when you're out there running beside someone and you just casually bring up a conversation, you don't realize half the time like you're either bringing that person back into life or they're bringing you back into life, and
Hmm.
just having the conversation to pass the time is what like
Yeah.
really bonds and makes everyone get together, which is so 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 true. And it's why I have this podcast and why I love running so much is it's just like two people get to know each other and then become best friends within seconds. It's awesome.
Yeah. 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 The friendships I've formed at races, and yeah, like some of them, like those two guys who run that race, Farm Days, Victor and Andrew, like um, they've been at my friends' weddings. Like I was at one of their weddings earlier this year. Like there's it, and like I see him once a year.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a testament to the culture they've created, but it's a testament to the culture of the sport. I think it's there's a real companionship that forms.
Oh, for sure. And it's crazy. Like you said, you probably see them once a year and you maybe give them like a like and a awesome job on Strava or on social
Sure.
media or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. And it's like you meet or you re-see them at a race and you're like best of friends. Like you haven't skipped a beat type deal.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's awesome.
It really is. I love it. But what is next on your radar for races? Do you have any races planned up?
I'm in my road marathon moment of the year, so I'm doing Chicago
Very cool.
um, for the first time, and then I will follow that up by doing New York, which I've done many. I think this will be my seventh time, but I'm doing it as um, a guide for an organization called Achilles. So for yeah, runners with forms of disability, and so I've done that a few times at New York. I really love doing it. I've guided a blind runner and a runner who had lost one of his legs, and that experience, love it.
Mhm.
And I love doing it in New York, which is my home city, and so being able to sort of guide a runner in a city that I know and love, really wonderful experience. So I try to do that. I try to make a habit out of doing that. But that's those two will be how I probably close out the year. I don't know what's next for the ultras. Yeah, I had pretty serious knee surgery a couple years ago. I had to get a cartilage transplant, and
Mm,
I couldn't run for a very long time. And that I've sort of eased my way back into some distances longer than a marathon. And maybe just now I'm starting to feel confident about like doing a 50 miler again or
mhm,
something.
mhm.
Um, so we'll see. We'll see what we put on the calendar. But yeah, yeah,
That's awesome. And you have a baby on the way, which we were just talking about before we got on this. So you may have your hands a little full, but I'm sure
yeah.
you will make the time and get out there and do a race. Is there any race like a bucket list race that you have that you want to do? Obviously, like not next year or anything like that, but in the future.
It's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to. There's some things I'd like to do that maybe aren't races. Like I've been getting interested in the FKT culture,
Mhm.
and Um, before I got my surgery, like the thing that probably blew out my knee is my buddies and I ran across the state of New York
Oh, so
in
cool.
2020. Yeah, it was awesome. It was my friends Matt and Nick, the two people who did Badwater, and me and Matt's brother crewed us, and we did it in about 6 days. We were doing like 60 or so miles a day, and I would never do that again. But yeah, like there's the CNO Canal, which is
Mhm.
the canal that the JFK 50 is a little over 100 miles, and I think that could be a cool FKT. The Empire State Trail, which now is a series of connected bike paths across
Mhm.
New York State, which didn't exist when we ran across New York State on roads. Like doing that on a bike would be awesome. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's next. I think maybe what I honestly think is if I do an ultra again, I think I'd like to go back to JFK and have that be the first one I do, to let myself know I can do it again. And yeah, and there's some ones that like I think I are past my prime. Like I I originally I had gotten in and dropped out of because I ended up needing the surgery of the Vol State 500K,
Mm.
which my buddy Matt did before the Barclays, and yeah, that he did that back in like 2016, and I think hearing about that race will always be sort of mythological for me. I can't like that's like now like it's too irresponsible for me to go out there and do some unsupported 310-mile race across Tennessee in the middle of summer. But yeah, I would like to go if like and I think the crewing side of things is actually really fascinating to me too. Like, and I'd like to crew at Badwater again. I would do that in a heartbeat. I think, or any big race. And so, yeah, I mean, there's no set goal, but I love the sport and I like being around it. And I think what's cool is as I get older and as I sort of recalibrate my relationship to sport, like, I mean, I'm still running it, but it's like I'm a little bit less gung ho.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it doesn't mean that you can't be involved. And
Oh,
so, like the idea of crewing at a race feels just as exciting to me in many ways as racing it. And so that's a cool thing to know and realize about myself.
oh
So
yeah, for sure. And I swear crewing and pacing is a whole different type of level of being in the ultra world, but also like wonderful and just as
yeah,
rewarding as doing your own race. And I highly, highly suggest getting into like a 200-mile crewing and pacing. It is
yeah,
life changing. It's wild. Um, Way different than Badwater because you can like take time to yourself and you're usually in a vehicle and you can drive
yeah,
somewhere and go do your own thing. But that's super cool that you found that, even though you aren't doing quote unquote ultra running, you're still running, you're still a runner 100%. You're dabbling in these weird things called marathons, but you know, um also finding that crewing and pacing is something that holds just as much,
yeah,
reward. And I would love to see that you get out there. I love currying pacing. I do way too freaking much. But it is truly just as rewarding as doing your own race.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So before you go, I have to ask you, um, on the podcast, obviously it's called the Tribe of Runners. I love the community. I think it's one of the kind, and we've kind of touched base on that. But in your opinion, through the world of running that you've done, what does the word tribe mean to you in the running world?
Mm. It's a great question. Um, to me, I mean, I'm extremely lucky and grateful that my best friends are always willing to do crazy things with me.
Mhm.
And so I think of them, but yeah, I think a lot about the community that forms, for the 6, 12, 24, 48 hours of a race. And I think a lot about the aid stations and the people who are willing to drop everything to give a stranger a ice bath or a banana,
Hmm.
and I think about um yeah, I think about how in one of my first ultras, someone I never met was willing to rub my IT band with a massage stick, like in
Hmm.
the, and so I think about all of that is like a ultra marathon is a great experiment in life where you're surrounded by people who are willing to do anything they can to help you get to a finish line. So that's what I think about. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
It really is, and you're so true. You meet people that you've never met before in your life, and they will give you like quote unquote the shirt off the back of them,
Yeah.
to help you finish a race, which is so amazing. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. Do you have anywhere that is the best place to reach you or anything of that nature? Follow you on social media?
Yeah, Instagram, I'm at dgkelly91. And my website's devingkelly.com, and I have links to all my work. And yeah,
Cool. I will have all of that in the show notes so people can reach
cool.
out and read your book whenever it comes out. What is it called, by the way?
It's called Pilgrims.
What's that?
And there's some running involved in it.
Very
Um,
cool.
yeah.
Awesome. Well,
So
thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing
thanks,
and
Liz.
talking all things running.
Cool. Appreciate it.
Yep.